Good morning, everybody. My name is Vivian, and I am a Senior Director for the SAP Business Technology Platform. I've been working with the Business Technology Platform for over 7 years now, covering a breadth from different areas. Integration is obviously one of them, clean core, and now also AI. So if you have any questions around these areas, I'm happy to address them. For today, we will cover more around modern integration technologies. And for that, I have brought you 5 hot topics for integration. So the first one is the cloud advantages that come with SAP Integration Suite. The second one is the variety of integration patterns that you can have in there. We will go into one a bit more in detail. Oh, I turned it off. Then the third one is the pre-built content that is available for you ready to use. Then there's an integration assessment to help you start your integration journey and understand also more about what kind of strategies you should implement. And also the built-in AI features. So these are my 5 hot topics for you today, and we will go into each of these and learn a bit more about them. But first of all, you are in the BTP stream, so you have probably seen that picture before. I do not need to talk you through it. But just to, again, set a bit the context, and if we're zooming a bit out, the BTP has 5 different pillars: application development, automation, integration, data analytics, and AI. And for today, we will be focusing on the integration pillar. So let's go with the first one, cloud advantages. So maybe the landscape of what we see from our customers is really quickly evolving by having a lot of different types of applications, processes, and various different ways and needs to actually provide the connected end-to-end scenarios. And therefore, we see the need that you need to have various different tools in order to facilitate this complex landscape. And this is what we're striving for with the SAP Integration Suite. But there, I know it's still almost lunchtime, but I do want to be a bit of interactive with you and ask you actually a question now. So we're looking for a percentage number of deployed integration scenarios that are with non-SAP connectors. Any guesses? 30%. 30%. What else? Are we going higher? Are we going lower? 60. What else? Higher? Lower? 75. Woo! You're getting close. It is 77 and plus. So integration scenarios are with non-SAP connectors. And what we mean by this is that, first of all, we talked about the SAP to non-SAP, right? But you obviously can also integrate SAP with SAP. But one of the myths that we often see and hear is, oh, you can only do this. You can't even do this. And you definitely can't do this. Well, this is a myth. You can do all of these scenarios with the SAP Integration Suite. You can do all of these 3 categories. And you see here, this is from the ASAC, where you can see some of the scenarios of how they have been using it. But often you ask then, maybe for some of you who are still a bit newer to the integration suite, what actually can you integrate? So you can, of course, integrate SAP applications, as we just have seen. But you can also integrate third parties, and we have various different connectors also out there. Then you can also integrate to different governments. You can also integrate and do B2P partner integrations. And you do this with a variety of different capabilities that you can have. So for example, the cloud integrations is like end-to-end process integration scenarios, which if you are still on PIPO, kind of goes into this direction, but think about it a bit more on steroids. But then on top of this, you have a variety of other areas of what you can do. For example, we have a variety of open connectors. We have an integration advisor that can help you with managing the B2B scenarios, and there's also some AI-based parts in it. We have Event Mesh, where we will go a bit more into today. And we also have a variety of an API management management area, where you can build, manage, expose all of your different APIs and manage basically the whole life cycle around it. And we do also have a migration assessment in case you want to migrate, for example, from PIPO. There's also some further news around this topic since TechEd. So definitely there were some sessions happening. Either go back to their slides, or if you're happy, we can also have a chat about this one. But I mentioned a bit before, we do have the SAP Business Accelerator Hub. And if you have not been on this website, this is one thing that you definitely should go on to, because it has so much pre-built content that you do not need to start from zero. So you're not starting here, you're already starting here. And the majority of the customers that I speak to, and they maybe have been already a bit further in their journey, and then they hear about this one, they're like, if I would have known this. So that's why, if you have not been there, definitely check this out, because there's a lot of pre-built content for you. But then we are running a multi-cloud strategy. So that means for you, you have the choice of where to actually go for which vendor. We have these different hyperscalers as options, but often then the question comes as well, but I do not want some of my integrations actually go into the cloud. Well, that is why we have the Edge integration cell that helps you to deploy also local integrations. So this is an overview of the SAP Integration Suite. If there is one snapshot from this session that you should take, this is your mental snapshot. Of course, you feel free to take pictures, you get the slides, but just I point out, this is the first mental snapshot for you today to take with you. So I've talked about these different, like also SAP to non-SAP integrations. Here, just some examples of pre-packaged integrations that we have, for example, from S/4HANA Cloud to non-applications. For example, to Salesforce, to Workday, or even to ServiceNow. Pre-packaged, okay? Already available for you. Just again, to give you a feeling of what you are able to do. So obviously, these are all things that come with the SAP Integration Suite, which is again a cloud-based product. One of the other things is obviously any new innovations that we're building in, you get in there. You don't need to do any, in that sense, upgrades because it is a cloud product, right? So whenever we're releasing something new, you have it. Think about, obviously, if you have been installing something on-premise, you would need to do upgrades and do other changes. You might be stuck on this one particular version. Again, all of these capabilities, we just are working really hard to upgrade and make them even better and better for you. So this was the first point in terms of cloud advantages. Let's now go a bit more into the variety of integration patterns. So I've showed you this slide, but now there are all of these different capabilities. And again, with PIPO, you're mainly more only in this area, but there's much more what comes with it. And what I want to do is focus a little bit more on advanced event mesh. Who has heard about it before? 1, 2 people? Okay. Do you understand what an event is? Yes. No. Maybe. So an event is a change of state. If I would, for example, now give you this clicker over to you, this is a change of good, giving it to you. This would be a change of state. Think about your warehouses. Think about your retail shops, for example. Think about anything that might be changing in your organization. Think about a new invoice coming in, a new sales order coming in, a shipping going out. These are all changes of state. So if we take this as a bit of an example, is the big part is often businesses at the moment are not running real time. But they want to have real-time information. You want to know how much is in your warehouse. You want to know when the sales order is coming in or when there's an update to it. So for example, you do not want to have lost sales because the shelves are empty, because then customers are not really happy. You ideally want to have that the that the shelves gets restocked before it actually gets even too low. You also ideally want that your warehouse orders get not sent too late so that you have no inventory to sell. You ideally want that all the products are always available. You also want that you have not frustrated customers that maybe drive to your store and then find out that in the meantime, when they started to drive and they checked online on your website, for example, that the product was available, but in the time they got there, somebody else maybe bought it, right? And you ideally want to have not a disconnected customer experience. For example, if you have a loyalty application that immediately when the customer buys something, the loyalty points, for example, are immediately there. All of this is real time. And what's behind it? Obviously, some integrations. And this is what you actually can do with SAP Advanced Event Mesh. So obviously, think about this as a typical landscape with inventory, stores, warehousing, logistics, customer experience, and obviously some kind of public and private cloud. And obviously, how would you do this? You would build a lot of integrations out. We call this a bit the spaghetti diagram, or like spaghetti architectures. Guess you see where the point, like where the word is coming from. But ideally, because you have such a heterogeneous landscape, building always integrations out from one point to another and to another and to another. At some point, it might not be any more spaghettis, it might be just a huge blob. So, and instead of doing this, there is a more modern version of doing this, and this is called Advanced Event Mesh. What happens is that in the middle, we just put a broker. And let's say there is an update in your inventory, an event happening. It sends this information to a broker, and the different areas that are interested in it have subscribed to this broker, and as soon as there is an update, they are connected to the broker and can then receive these updates. So instead of building out all of these separate integrations, you just have a broker in the middle that then can have sent this information and the others receiving it. And of course, you can have several brokers, right? You can have several brokers for various different areas. And this is, again, what Advanced Event Mesh is about. But I want to share with you an example. And now we're talking about vessels. Think about all of these different container ships, right? And what products are in there, when they're arriving, when they get loaded. Again, a lot of changes, a lot of events happening in there. And let's roll quickly a video that explains a bit of what they have been doing with this particular technology.
Over 20 different types of digital events are generated and published to sites. Events like vessel position, container logistics, port congestion alerts, and CO2 emission alerts. These events are consumed by a variety of subscribers, including our virtual ocean control tower dashboard and an interactive Google map, giving users an overall view of goods in transit and helping us optimize vessel speed, navigation, arrival, and departure times for maximum efficiency, safety, and to help reduce our environmental impact. This digital innovation is helping us significantly reduce our detention and demurrage costs.
Okay, so just a quick video that gives you an impression. Maybe here a couple of more information around it. So for example, the challenge again was that they had over 12,000 containers underway on over 1,500 ships. Numerous particles that needed to get moved between the different areas, and also real-time supply chain monitoring was what they wanted to go for. The solution was to implement the event-driven architecturing to allow for monitoring every ship position where it is, handing over these 10,000 containers records per day, and handles over 500 different port congestion records per day again. They use obviously eventing for where the container position is changed, congestion detected, or any kind of when they moved on to the different trucks. And then again, here are some benefits of over $10 million annual savings in detention and demurrage, and so on and so on. Even when they got blocked in the Suez Canal, handling in less than 2 hours was possible to understand, okay, this particular area is blocked now. How are we now getting other goods shipped to this particular location of where it needs to go? So this just as one example for one of these more modern integration scenarios, right? I just talked about one, which was the event-driven one. I didn't touch upon the API management, but just I wanted to give you one glimpse about these more other different patterns. Okay, let's talk now about my third key topic for today, which is pre-built content. I already touched upon it, but as we are still a bit on an interactive session, there's another question for you. Now we're looking for a number. How many business accelerators are there to speed up your integration? 300? Come on.
200.
200. You can just throw out numbers. There's nothing wrong with it.
1,000.
1,000. Okay, it's higher. Come on. Anybody knowing a number over 1,000? 2,000. Okay. It is. Oh, 4. Okay. It is 8,500 plus. Okay. And what that means is, you can see here a couple of varieties, right? Pre-packaged integrations, APIs, business events, right? We just talked about this. Adapters to SAP and non-SAP, and much more, right? And you can see here the acceleration time, the time saving. You have the QR code here, but I mentioned it to you already before. SAP Business Accelerator Hub, okay? So please again, I would say second mental snapshot, and maybe a little bit of like what you could do after the session. Check out there, go and see what is already available for you that you could start using. I do have a short video, but I see that people are still scanning their phones, so just gonna give it another second. Good. So here, just a quick overview of what it looks like. You have the different SAP products, you have the different processes, you have even different categories of how do you want to explore. And then if you're actually signed in, then you can just simply go in and view one and then add it even to your workspace. Also our different partners are putting their content out there. So there's a lot of what you can do. It's actually not only also integration scenarios, it's even also automations and various other pre-built content from the SAP Business Technology Platform that we put out there. But again, here we just look for the BTP and what's all there available. Okay, next question to you. The answer was on the slide before, so you may have seen it or not, but we have over 250 plus adapters. How many of these are for third parties? So this time it can't be 151, okay? It needs to be lower. 150, okay? It is a bit lower.
75.
75. 140, okay. It is 240 of these adapters are for third parties. So only 10 are for SAP, the rest is for third parties. Again, with one of the strategies that we have with the SAP Business Technology Platform is to be open. This is open and connected. So just here a quick overview of the different ones that are out there. Obviously you can see the ... There is much more. But just as an overview of what you can see, what are all of these different connectivity options that you have? I'm just going to wait a second. Good. So, but often also the question comes a bit, what is the value that you actually can get from it? So I want to guide your attention to this Forrester study. The first one is, the suite pays for itself in less than 6 months. This study was conducted with customers who have had PIPO and customers who haven't had any kind of integration particular scenarios. Still, it pays for it in 6 months. We also have an ROI of 345 after 3 years and an increased developer efficiency by 30%. I've linked you this Forrester report here where you can read more about what they have been doing. This is from August 2024 this year. I think again, this is now really concrete business value that you can also put forward in case for saying, why should we adopt it? Well, here you have your answer. But if that is not convincing enough, for the 4th consecutive year, we have been mentioned in the Magic Gartner Quadrant as a leader in the space of integration scenarios. Okay, moving on to the integration assessment. So again, coming back to this picture, now we're going to talk a bit more about this integration assessment. We have an integration strategy paper for you out there where you can first of all understand a bit better how would you even start to build out your integration strategy. It's a really good one just to kind of understand a bit what are the different steps, how you do you start to design it, how do you implement it, and so on and so further. But if you look into this kind of integration solution methodology, which we also have out there, it's kind of 3 parts. First of all, to build a framework out, then to help you with kind of any patterns, reference architectures, best practices that are out there, and also help you with all of the different integration dimensions, let it be hybrid or any kind of other dimensions where we can help you with this one. So this is a whole advisor methodology, and as part of this, you can conduct one area, which is the assessment. But there are 5 key areas. First of all, if you do not have any integration strategy, you start here. Then you would go further to assessing your integration strategy, where you can use the integration assessment. Then you would start to design it for your hybrid integration platforms, make use of the different best practices that we're offering, and then being able to empower and run all of these different areas. And all of this is part of this integration solution advisory methodology, so it's also definitely something that you should check out if you're starting to think about how to actually get started with. So there are 2 ways. One, we have different templates where you can start sketching your enterprise integration strategy, but we also have a tool-based approach where is this integration assessment. And here a quick video of how this looks like. So what you have done until now, you have answered a couple of questions. Somebody has put a request forward. And then what you can see is it actually tells you for sales order confirmations, which of the two things you should actually use to make it happen, which of the different technologies, capabilities help you. So we have here the SAP Application Interface Framework, and we have the SAP Integration Suite Cloud Integration. You can see here which of these it actually covers, and then you can also drill further in to learn a bit more about these particular areas. Okay, so just so much that there is an integration assessment out there, there is a whole strategy paper out there, we help you with the whole integration parts. Again, start making use of these things if you're interested in it. But you can see here again what it is covered and what's not, and you can also go a bit deeper, as I mentioned before. My fifth point is now the AI space. And I mean, AI is in everybody's mouth today, so what are we also doing in this space? If you have been to some of the AI sessions earlier in the past at this conference, you definitely have seen this slide. In case you have not seen it, bear with me, I will walk you through in a second. So we have these three guiding principles: relevant, reliable, responsible. Relevant means you want to have an AI that gives you an answer relevant on your business data, not maybe what is today for dinner or for lunch. So it should give you the relevant answers. They should be reliable, so they should not be hallucinated. And they should be responsible in the sense of having privacy standards, being ethical in the consideration. So this is our guiding principles that we have set out, which I've seen the development structures of when we are developing AI, of how many instances it needs to go through. And I tell you, this diagram looked really small with a really little font on it, how many stages it needs to pass because we have these guiding principles in place. Maybe also an interesting fact is, wait, let me come back to this in a second. So we have Joule. Joule is our co-pilot where you can interact with it, ask it any questions, help you to navigate through it, help you to reason through multiple steps of what to do. Then we have our embedded AI capabilities where we are embedding AI in each of these different cloud solutions. And then we also have the possibility of where you can build custom AI with the SAP Business Technology Platform, where we have a particular area that is called AI Foundation. And then we have various different partnerships or direct investments that actually are feeding into this area. So we're using the SAP Business Technology Platform for two main things. First of all, we give it to you, and you know these 5 pillars, right? For example, we talk deep depth about the integration suite. But interestingly, when it comes also to the AI space and actually to all of the different spaces, what we're doing here is to develop Joule and to develop the embedded AI capabilities, we're using the SAP Business Technology Platform. But we also give you the same tools that we use for our development that you can build something yourself. So, and what I want to do today, I do not want to focus on any of these topics today. We're going to be focusing on the 100 generative AI use cases that we have launched. And particularly, we focus on the embedded AI in the SAP Business Technology Platform for integration. So the first one is we have here Clara as the integration developer, and she goes onto the Business Accelerator Hub to try to find some content for how to integrate things. And what she will be able to do there, so this will become available, is that she could go onto the Business Accelerator Hub and ask, okay, I want to find some integrations between S/4HANA and SuccessFactors. And instead of just like going through the content, she will have Joule to help you actually find the direct content. Then she can view this content on, again, now navigating her to the correct page, or even immediately also adding it to her workspace because she's signed in. So these are just like, you can also then ask further questions with Joule and interact with Joule. So this will come next year. We do already have some kind of chat features and beta version already out there, but it's not the full Joule because this will come later. 5 minutes. Another one is that we have, again, somebody who's building integrations out, but this time they're using actually generative AI capabilities to build an iFlow. So for example, here, if we are in the SAP Integration Suite, we can create an integration, and it's really quick now. You can see here, we chose the AI integrations. We're putting a prompt in natural language. We send it off. The AI recognizes, okay, I need a couple of more information in terms of like receiver systems, sender systems, and what the name should be. And then we hit create. And of course, this now is a very simple AI flow. but there's just obviously more things that you could do. So this is just, again, very simple. But think about it as a starting point for your developments in this integration space. Will it replace all of your integration developers? No. But will it help you to be faster, to accelerate it, to use it as a starting point, as an interaction point? Yes. So we have these kind of like different embedded abilities, and we're obviously using some generative AI technology, so to connect to some of the LLMs via the SAP AI Foundation. Another one is where we have the API owner. So we talked a bit about the API management hub, but what you want to do, or what you can do in there, is manage all of your different APIs. But what happens if some kind of anomaly happens in the space? You would ideally like to get informed immediately about this one. So this is where we now have anomaly detection. So you get an email which tells you, okay, so there has been an anomaly. You navigate to the system, and you can see here, okay, so there have been 2 anomalies detected, and you can go a bit further into it and see, okay, so there has been this one anomaly detected in your system, and from there you can also further drill into, and it will also give you some recommendations of what you're able to do, or what you should ideally do in terms of suggestions and details, which you can see here on the right-hand side. And of course also a description. So these are things, the anomaly detection and the generative AI flow are already available in the premium edition of the SAP Integration Suite. Okay, so we had 5 hot topics for today. We talked about some of the cloud advantages and the variety of what the SAP Integration Suite is. We talked about the different integration patterns that you have available as part of the Integration Suite. Think about, again, API management. Think about advanced event mesh. We talked about the whole of the pre-built business content. Remember the 8,500 plus pre-built content that's out there. I showed you some of the integration assessment capabilities if you're on the starting point and defining your integration strategy. And I showed you some of the enhancements that we are doing or are already out there in terms of building AI into our solution. Of course, there's much more content that you can consume from understanding more about the Integration Suite. Here again, the Business Accelerator Hub, or there's also an SAP BTP guidance framework, not only for integrations, but literally everything around the BTP, how to set something up, extensions, how to build extensions, how to do, there's a lot out there, so just go on here, because that's, if you're also a bit unsure, there's on our SAP help documentation more about this. Well, and with that, I want to thank you. Feel free to, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to either via email or connect with me on LinkedIn. I do share and actually record those presentations, I also put them out there. I do not only talk about Integration Suite, as I told you in the beginning, but if you have any questions, please feel free to address me actually a bit later, because I have in 10 minutes another session I need to run now to hall 3. So thank you very much, and yeah, that's it.